Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Sorry it's been a little while since I last uploaded, but we're back now with some championship action to discuss, and we're going to talk about Nottingham Forest and Sabri Lamouchi. Should he stay or should he go? Let's get into it. So yeah, it's not been a good start to the season for Nottingham Forest at all, has it? They lost 2-0 to QPR and 2-0 to Cardiff, both in the league, and they were also dumped out of the League Cup, losing 1-0 to Barnsley. So for all their attacking options, all their attacking talent, Lyle Taylor, Lewis Grabban, I know he's been out injured a little bit, Joe Lolly, I mean, they haven't scored any goals, they haven't done anything going forward, and it's put them in a real tricky position at the start of the season. But if you also take their form this season and reverse it and look back to last season as well, it actually means no wins in 9 for Sabri Lamouchi's men. Of course, they had that run of form at the end of last season, which saw them drop out of the playoffs in spectacular style, with no fans in the stands, no one there to cheer them on. They really struggled, and it looks to be continuing this season, but it's not stopped them making a load of transfers this summer. And it's not just been in this transfer window. If you look back to January 2018, since then, 2.5 years, they've signed a whopping 58 players and counting. Now, it's absolutely insane, the turnover of players they've got through. Lamouchi's been a big part of that, signing a lot of players. They've not got rid of too many, which has led them to have quite a bloated squad, I think. And some of the players are on quite high wages. If you look at the players they've signed this summer, the likes of Cyrus Christie on loan, Harry Arter, both with Premier League experience, they won't come cheap at all. They're also looking at a few other signings. I know they've just brought in the centre-back Scott McKenna from Aberdeen. He could be decent, but again, he's come for a couple of £1 million, and they're not done yet, are they? Looking at bringing in Nicholas Ayunu, the left back from Apoel. Sorry, I think I've absolutely murdered his name, but this squad is full of talent. It's got layers, it's got depth, it's got ability, but is Lamouchi the right man to lead it forward? But let's keep talking about this Nottingham Forest squad, because everywhere you look there is championship quality and some Premier League experience, especially in the midfield. When you look at the likes of Colback, Arter and Freeman, that makes up a really good trio of midfielders, whether they line up in a 4-2-3-1 or that 4-1-4-1 system. Up front, of course, there's goals galore with Lyle Taylor and Lewis Grabban, although I don't think they'll be paired together too often this season. Could be wrong on that one. Bryce Samba in goal has proved himself to be one of the top goalkeepers at this level. And then at the back, I've already mentioned they brought in Scott McKenna from Scotland. Joe Worrell, he's been decent for them lately, but he could leave this window, but I don't think they'll let him go too easily. They could, in fact, switch to 3 centre-backs and pair both of them with Loic Howe, the 19-year-old they bought from PSG for about £4 million. So he's got options, Lamouchi. He's certainly got quality in this squad. At centre-back, he's got the likes of Dawson and Hefele backing up those 3 I've just mentioned. At right-back, Cyrus Christie and Carl Jenkinson. At left-back, Ribeiro and Tyler Blackett. I mean, it's a quality squad, this one, and that's not even mentioning the likes of Joe Lolly and Sammy Amiobi, who I want to see a bit more of this season. I think they could improve that left wing spot. Amiobi's just not consistent enough for me, but looking at that squad on paper, you've got to say it's a top 6 squad. He's got the depth, he's got the experience, he's got options, he can change it about, he can change formations. So it's over to Lamouchi now, really, isn't it? But some of the stats have led fans to really question Lamouchi and what he is doing, especially the attacking stats from last season, which look to have carried over to this season. So these stats from last season, and you can see why fans are questioning him. They only scored the 14th highest number of goals in the Championship, even though they ended up finishing 7th. But if you dig down a bit deeper, you can see some real issues with this Nottingham Forest attacking shape, attacking lineup, whatever you want to call it. They only had the 22nd highest amount of shots on target last season, and it sounds obvious, but if you don't get your shots on target, you don't score goals. And they only had the 21st highest touches in the box, which just shows they weren't getting close enough, they weren't endangering the opposition enough to really make an impact. But the big one, they had the worst shooting accuracy in the entire division, 24th, a shooting accuracy of 36%, which I'm sure Lyle Taylor will help in front of goal. Of course, he is a clinical striker, we know what he can do. And also Grabban, I mean, he had quite a lot of shots for his 20 goals last season, it seems, but I mean, the stats, the attacking stats, they've got to do more going forward, and hopefully a few of these signings can help out, because Lamouchi needs to change something or he needs to go. So clearly it is too early. It's only 2 games into the season to make a decision on Lamouchi. But if you look at the trends from last season continuing into this one, you have to say either he has to go or something seriously has to change at Nottingham Forest. I put a poll out on Twitter earlier today just to get a feel of what Forest fans were thinking, and 55% of you thought he should be given 5 more games before he's either sacked or kept on. And if you look at their fixtures, they're not too difficult as the Championship goes. Huddersfield, Bristol City, Blackburn, Rotherham, Rotherham, and then Derby, the big one at home. The East Midlands Derby. Could he lose that game and be out of the door? We'll have to wait and see. 32% of you, the second highest answer, wanted to get rid now, which is much different to the 11% who thought he was the right man for the job and wanted to keep him at the club. But the issue is, if Forest leave him in charge for 5 games or even longer than that, how long can they afford to leave it? How far can they afford to fall behind the top 6, which is where this squad really should be? If you look at some of the managers that are available and some of the managers that could come in to replace him, I can see why Forest might be tempted to make a change, and why Forest fans especially will be really excited by some of these options. I mean, Lee Johnson, Bristol City, he improved them every single season he was there, nearly got them into the playoffs. He's a steady pair of hands in the Championship. Maybe they'd get him in. Could they get Eddie Howe perhaps? I know it is an outlandish shot. He'll surely be lining up a Premier League job when he does return to football. But Nottingham Forest, they're a bigger club than Bournemouth. They've got a huge fan base. They've got the history. Could that be the club to tempt Eddie Howe back into management and back into the Championship? I know that's what the fans of Nottingham Forest wanted here. Heavily wanted Eddie Howe in charge, but there's other options available right now. You know what I think of Chris Hughton. I think he's absolutely spectacular in the Championship, but he could get Nottingham Forest promoted. I'm sure he'd have a better go at it than Sabri Lamouchi. He is the promotion king. Norwich, he's done it. Newcastle, he did it. Could he do it yet again with Nottingham Forest? I think he'd be a fairly popular appointment if he was given the job. And I posed this question on Twitter: who would Forest fans like in charge? And there were some interesting comments below. Nigel Pearson was a name I saw mentioned. He could be a bit of a pick, wouldn't he? He'd certainly shake things up at Forest. He could get them promoted. He was unfairly sacked, I think we can all admit, from Watford in the Premier League last season. They ended up going down. I'm sure he'd fancy this job, to be fair. It's a great club. I've already mentioned the squad they've got. He could lead them on a promotion charge. Another name mentioned was Marco Silva. Experience in England again. Obviously didn't do too well at Hull City, but he could be given another job. And the main one, the most controversial name mentioned, I think, Sam Allardyce. Big Sam could get the job at Nottingham Forest. People would complain. That was the comment. People would moan, but he would get this squad promoted. And I think that's the thing with Forest, and Forest fans in particular. This squad is one that certainly should be in the top 6 of the Championship. The money they're spending, the size they've got, the depth, the quality, the experience. I think it's a great blend of players. It's a great blend of goals, ability. Joe Lolly's absolutely fantastic, isn't he? I mean, a manager needs to get this team into the top 6 and certainly be challenging for promotion. If Lamouchi has got them in the bottom half in 5 or 6 games' time, I think he won't last much longer, and I think they will get in an experienced name to shake things up again, whether that be a Pearson, whether that be a Sam Allardyce. Let me know, Forest fans, exactly what you want. I want you to answer 3 questions in the comments below. Number 1, would you sack Sabri Lamouchi right now as we speak? Number 2, which manager would you want to replace him? And number 3, where should Forest be looking to finish this season? What would be a successful season for Nottingham Forest and this squad in particular? But for now, guys, that is it. Please remember to like and subscribe for more Championship content, for more Football League content. I'll be back with more videos soon. But for now, that is it. I will see you on the next one.